Going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Do you mind telling us a little bit about Al-Azhar?
Yes. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of God, the most merciful. Al-Azhar, the name Azhar came originally from Fatima al-Zahra, that is the daughter of Prophet Muhammad, and the name was adopted by the Fatimid dynasty when they conquered Egypt in the third century of Anno Hijra, that is 900 Anno Domino, and they took this name and they called the University of Al-Azhar, the Mosque of Al-Azhar, this name as a blessing, by way of blessing. They intended originally to make it an institution, educational institution for the Fatimid ideology, but it came out to be a very moderate institution. The scholars of Al-Azhar, even during the Fatimid dynasty, ignored totally the ideology of the Fatimids and educated all the Muslim schools of jurisprudence. It is recorded in the historical documents that they taught Hanbali fiqh, jurisprudence of Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, of Imam Abu Hanifa, of Imam Malik, of Imam Shafi'i, beside the Fatimid jurisprudence during the time of the Fatimids. Yes.
Now, you said that initially,
yes,
Al-Azhar was the mosque of Al-Azhar.
Yes.
And from there, this whole idea of the university started.
Yes.
Was this traditionally the way Islamic education was developed out of the mosques?
Yes.
So,
of course, the Islamic education began before that, from the very beginning, during the period of the revelation, in the days of the Prophet Muhammad. And you remember when the Battle of Badr occurred, the Prophet Muhammad was giving freedom to the prisoners of Quraysh. If they have no money to pay for the ransom, he accepted that one of them would teach 10 Muslim children. This is a very civilized touch. So the Islamic education began very much older than the Al-Azhar Mosque or the University of Al-Azhar. The Al-Azhar Mosque was a continuation of this tradition and not a new thing. He kept this tradition, and the Islamic education in its form is generally a very moderate one. And this is, we will talk after the next point, if you will go on.
Now, so traditionally, the scope of Islamic education was to teach the principles of Islam and Usul al-Fiqh or Sharia, maybe. But later on, it branched out to other disciplines. Am I correct?
Yes. The basis of Islamic education begins always with Al-Quran and the Al-Hadith al-Sharif, that is the prophetical saying of Prophet Muhammad. For myself, I committed Quran to memory since my childhood, third year of my age. I finished it, reciting it at eighth of my age, 8 years. So every student who wants to go to Al-Azhar University, he must commit Quran by heart. That is basic and fundamental, you see. Then we have three periods: primary and secondary, and then the undergraduate in the university. But at the beginning of the university, it was within the mosque. The old regime of education in the mosque was what we call in Arabic al-amud, the column. A professor or a lecturer would sit on his bench beside a column, one of the columns of Al-Azhar, and the students come around him listening to him. Of course, there are so many columnists and so many lecturers, one for Arabic grammar, another for jurisprudence, another for say rhetoric, etc., etc. This was a traditional form of education in Al-Azhar. Then at the beginning of this century, this transformed into a new and modern form of education. We came to have the modern form of Al-Azhar University with its traditional three faculties: Faculty of Sharia, Islamic law; Faculty of Usul al-Din, Islamic theology; Faculty of Arabic language, Kulliyat al-Lugha al-Arabi. Then, at the beginning of the second half of the 20th century, that is exactly 1961 or 1962, with the system of Dr. Muhammad al-Bahai, may Allah have mercy upon his soul, he initiated the new phase of Al-Azhar University by creating new branches of education in Al-Azhar. Now we have different faculties for medicine, for agriculture, for engineering, for pharmacy, for dentist, but all those faculties, they're specialized on different branches of culture. Basically, they give the minimum amount of Islam necessary for every Muslim to know and to propagate Islam. And that is one new phase in the modern Al-Azhar University.
Now, you said something about propagation of Islam. Over the centuries, has the role of Al-Azhar been mainly defined for this purpose, that is for missionary purpose, especially in North Africa and everywhere?
Yes. There is one thing I must begin with. In Islam, we don't have what we may call hierarchy of religious people. We don't have this. The result of this, there is no official institution for preaching Islam. Then who will preach Islam? It is a responsibility.
Excuse me, cut.
Basically, yes.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Yes. Basically, we don't have priesthood in Islam. That is to say, we don't have an official hierarchy of religious people, professionals, who make a living out of this. What we have now are scholars of Islam. Our rule is just to teach people, not to make authority upon them. And this is the spirit of Islam. So, who is responsible for preaching Islam? It is each Muslim in the world. Every Muslim is responsible for that. And that is why Muslims have to be very serious, have to be very clean, very purified. They should act in a good way, because people will look to them as symbols of Islam. That is true that كل نفس بما كسبت رهين. Each soul is responsible for what it is and what she is doing, but people all over the world takes an idea of a religion through his followers. We cannot ignore that. And here is the rule of Al-Azhar. Al-Azhar teaches the students how to understand Islam. They give them all the Islamic culture in its pure way. We don't have fundamentalism. We don't have radicalism ideas. In Al-Azhar, for myself, I studied all. I am specialized in Islamic philosophy and faculty of Usul al-Din of Islamic theology. I studied Islamic creed, current ideas of modern time and contemporary times. I studied in general all the system, philosophical system of the human legacy with no prejudice, you see. Yes, at the end we give our own point of view as Muslims, but we study them as they are written, as they were written by them, their authors. And this is one point for Al-Azhar. We don't interfere between the culture and the student. We give him the culture as it is, then we'll say what is the opinion of Islam about this. Yes.
Now, you said, so therefore, my question was mostly towards the missionary aspect of Al-Azhar, and you answered it to some extent, but what I want you to also tell me, how can, although there is great emphasis on teaching Islam and religion and all of that, but how can you have a missionary activity if you also do not impart knowledge of other religions?
I have not said that we don't make any education of other religions. We have many courses on comparative religions. I myself have taught many courses in Al-Azhar University and in Sultan Qaboos University in the Sultanate of Oman. I taught for 3 years, consecutive 3 years, the history of religions. We do study all this. So many MA theses and PhD theses on comparative religions. And don't forget that Al-Bayruni, one of the Muslim scholars, and Al-Milal wal-Nihal Shahristani, and many others from Muslim scholars are scholars of comparative religions. So this is part of Islamic culture and Islamic legacy. We cannot ignore it. That is it.
Now,
there is still the point of preaching Islam. Of course, Al-Azhar has this responsibility. He sends abroad every year many missionaries. You may call me one of them. I'm coming here, yes, to attend the Parliament of World Religions, but in a way, this is the way of preaching Islam. Attending your question and answering them is a part of my work. That is it. And Al-Azhar sends hundreds and thousands of his scholars all over the world. And many times he pays for their salaries, especially in Africa and Asia. Those poor countries, they cannot support the Al-Azhar missionaries, so Al-Azhar pay their salaries from his budget. That is it.
Now, you talked something about, you referred to fundamentalism and fanaticism. I'm going to ask you, what is the response of Al-Azhar to what is happening in Egypt presently and also in many other parts of the Muslim world?
Yes, originally Islam is a moderate religion. It is mentioned in the Quran, وَكَذَلِكَ جَعَلْنَاكُمْ أُمَّةً وَسَطًا. And this way we made you a moderate nation. This is fundamental in Islam. The Islamic ideas about the relation between Muslims and other religions is very moderate. It's very human, very brotherly. You see, we are allowed to even to marry from non-Muslims people, especially Jews and Christians. We are told that we can do all the businesses with them. No barrier between us and them. We can visit their countries. They can come to our country. No barrier at all. So this is because Islam is a moderate religion, no fanaticism. The problem is that some generation, especially the last generation, are estranged from the Islamic culture. They are not interested in knowing the real culture of Islam. So they think that Islam is this fundamental way or this radical way, which is not. So Al-Azhar, of course, his opinion is this is against the real spirit of Islam. And of course, it makes denunciation of the form and image of Islam all over the world, which is not the truth.
Also, you talked about...
I want just to add a little thing. It is very interesting to know the Prophet Muhammad, when before the conquest of Mecca, some of his companions asked him, they commented, "Oh Prophet, why you are so interested in the Qurayshi people? They attacked you, they kicked you out of your Mecca country, your country Mecca. Why you are interested in them?" He said, maybe they will not embrace Islam, but from their descendants will come a generation who will serve Islam. This is a strategic point of view of the Prophet. That is why we are accepting what is happening all over the world. We never get despair that Muslims are treated bad here or there, but we look for the future. It is for the goodness of Islam. That is it.
Now, you also alluded to something else away from this, and that is philosophy. Yes. What is really the issue between Islam and philosophy? I thought that we put away all our philosophers and tabooed philosophy for several centuries. So what is your view?
Yes, well, philosophy, as you know, it is a Greek syllable. Philo means friend, Sophia means wisdom. But it doesn't mean anything for us to imitate, to absorb this term and take it as an Arabic word. And this is another form of the tolerance of Islam. We have no sensitivity of taking from all the civilizations what is suitable for us. We took this term not as a title for the Greek philosophy, no, but as a title for the rational activity of human beings. And for this, we call Islamic thinking Islamic philosophy. Islam in itself is not against philosophy as such. What Islamic philosophers did, they tried to reconcile between the philosophical heritage before Islam and the heritage of Islam itself. They succeeded in many ways and they failed in other parts. But the main effort done in this field is in itself an example of the freedom and the tolerance of the Islamic community.
Well, more than that, when you say that they took the original philosophical traditions, you're referring to the Greek.
Yes.
I would like you to cover that a little bit in a short thing.
You see,
the Neoplatonic
yes. Every nation in a certain period of itself, it began to build its own culture. When the nation feels that it arrived to a level suitable to accept other cultures, it began to translate other cultures, and this is what Muslims did in the 2nd century of Hijrah, that is to say, in the 8th century Anno Domini. They translated extensively the Greek, not only the Greek, the Persian and the Indian, and if I may say, Latin culture later on. All this was emerged in the main body of Islamic culture, and this is again was another facet of Islamic tolerance.
Let's change it.
Let's change the tape. If I was to ask you what actually the Islamic thinkers or philosophers in the early part of Islam were doing when they went to the Greek or the Latin or the Indian sources, what was it that they were trying to do?
Yes. First, Muslims have not jumped directly to the Greek philosophy and other philosophers of contemporary to this time. They began with kalam, kalam, that is theology, Islamic theology. And they were obliged to deal with kalam because with the Islamic conquests in other countries than Arabic Peninsula, new generation came into Islamic community. Those peoples has their own cultures, Persians, Indians, and they have their own traditional religions. Most of those religions are opposing Islamic creed. So some of them, as records indicate, have many ideas of the ancient history with them. They began to take of the old tradition into the new Islamic ideas. So in a certain period, Muslim scholars found it is very dangerous to keep silent. So they began a sort of dialogue with those people, and they began to develop their own machinery of defending Islam. The outcome is the famous kalam, kalam, or Islamic theology. Then they discovered that their opponents use a certain machinery or certain tactics built on Greek logic, Aristotelian logic, and they discovered that it is very efficient. So the Arabic mind is very initiative. They jump to the same tools and they absorbed the Aristotelian logic. Of course, they began translating and absorbing all this. In one generation, they mastered the Aristotelian logic, and they applied it to many courses in Arabic, in Islamic culture, even more than the West in any age.
You're talking about logic now? Or?
Yes, yes. They invented a new branch of it we call Adab al-Bahs wal-Munazara. That is the rules of methodology and debating. If you go through Islamic kalam, you say how to make a proposition, scientific proposition, how to criticize it, how to discuss what are the weak points, so on. This is purely Muslim activity. It was not used by other cultures. Anyhow, they took the idea first from their opponents, and they took the direction of Aristotelian logic, absorbed it. Then, again, the Arabic curiosity, they came in a time to find that still can take more ideas from the Greek source and the Indian and the old Persian sources, and so they came face to face with philosophy.
So what you said is that they perhaps rejected the notion of the Platonic logic or Platonic view and came to the Aristotle's own view and Aristotelian logic.
Part of them absorbed the Aristotelian, and other part took the Platonic. Al-Kindi, for example, was totally Platonian, because Al-Kindi put a condition for the student of philosophy that he must learn mathematics and arithmetic, and this is purely Platonic. But regretfully, he was not followed by none. Al-Farabi went the other way round. He went directly to Aristotelian logic and began the series after that. Of course, if Muslim philosophers had chosen the Platonic way, no one would know what will be the result of Islamic culture now. You see, beginning with mathematics and arithmetics, you can expect what could be going on. Another thing, that the philosophers were also not outsiders of Islamic legacy. They were within the Islamic legacy. But the problem is that many branches of scholars in the area, and each one in his enthusiasm thinks he is more affiliating to Islamic legacies than others. So he attacks others, but the whole group are in the service of Islamic culture.
What about if I take individually, say, let's start with Ibn Sina.
Yes.
And why was his work discredited later on, or whether is it because he was a Shia, or what other reasons were there for him?
Yeah, first of all, Ibn Sina was not discredited. He was attacked in a way by Al-Ghazali in a certain way. And Ibn Sina himself is a complete example of Islamic philosophy, because Al-Kindi, as initiator, he was not balanced. Even his terminology is not settled. Al-Farabi was not also, well, the true Islamic philosophy, we can say, began with Al-Farabi. But in Ibn Sina, the whole corpus of Islamic philosophy are represented in Ibn Sina. So when Al-Ghazali began his journey attacking Islamic philosophy, concentrated on Ibn Sina most of the time, on Al-Farabi now and then. The problem of Al-Ghazali, he is an enthusiastic Muslim scholar. He's not bad, but he's very enthusiastic. And in one phase of his life, he used to study first the sect of the current he wants to attack. He did that with the Ismailis in a famous books, well-known books written by him, Al-Mustazhiri and Fada'ih al-Batiniya, the scandal of the Batini. He did that with other branches, with the philosophers. He began to study them and wrote Maqasid al-Falasifa, the goals of philosophers. He exposed the main ideas of the whole corpus of Islamic philosophy, I can say as far as possible, very sincerely and very correctly, and then attack them in another voluminous book, Tahafut al-Falasifa. There is no agreement on translating this term in European languages. It can be destruction of philosophy or weakness of philosophy, whatever it is. Later on, he was re-attacked or opposed again by Ibn Rushd. You see, the basic attack of Ibn Rushd was based on that Al-Ghazali, first of all, has not followed the right methodology. He mentioned texts belonging to Aristotle but taken from Al-Farabi, while Aristotle has nothing to do with this. If he wants to quote Aristotle, go and quote Aristotle in his own text, not through other thinkers. That is one fault has been taken against Ibn Sina. Another thing, he misunderstood the language of philosophers. And this was the base of Ibn Rushd's rehabilitation of philosophers. Tahafut al-tahafut. That is it.
Now, talking of Ibn Rushd, where did, I mean, Ibn Rushd lived in a very productive period of history from the Muslim point of view, the Andalusian period.
Yes.
And he had such great contemporaries as Aquinas, Maimonides.
Yes.
So he did get a great deal through, I'm sure they must have sort of connected at some level.
Yes.
But why was Ibn Rushd's work later on discredited or got into trouble? Or
was Europeans, yes. Thomas Aquinas and those people came after Ibn Rushd. The problem is that the medieval philosophy in Europe was founded on theology, Christian theology, which what is against the Bible is illegal. Islamic philosophy, according to Islam, everything can be considered, no barriers. And when Muslim philosophers succeeded in reconciling between religion and philosophy, this was a conquest. Later on, Christian philosophers in medieval age, when they discovered this successful solution of the Muslim, they imitated it. They reconciled between the Bible and the philosophy that is the Greek philosophical heritage.
Between reason and revelation.
Yes. From this point of view, the church came against this. The church said it is only the Bible and nothing else. You cannot reconcile a atheistic legacy with the Bible. So they traced the source and they found it mainly taken from Averroes. So they attacked Averroes. But notwithstanding this, Averroes, the more they attack him, the more he is spread all over Europe in medieval age. And the church has to make more than 20 denouncements against Ibn Rushd. Historically, this is mentioned. So that is...
what about, let's come to a sort of a later period, or let's come to a different trend within Islam. What really went on? Why was there such ongoing tension, say, which in Islamic thought, which led to the Ash'arites and Mu'tazilites first? Let's talk about that a little.
Yes, Mu'tazila is a group of scholars who mainly depended on the mind. They said, if you have a holy text against the mind, we will choose the mind, because the holy text would never contradict the mind.
Pure rationalism.
That is it, pure rationalism. And they said, for example, in Islamic Kalam, that the principle of justice, that God has to award the good people and punish bad people. They said he has to. Other currents of Muslim scholars said no, there is no compulsion on God, otherwise he will not be a God. So he does with capital H, he does through his own will. No compulsion, no obligation, it is his only will. And that is a point of view of Mu'tazila that necessitated other schools to attack it firmly. The main school against...
So they were attacked because of the fact that they placed...
the mind over the text in most of cases, you see. And they were opposed by the other people, the people of the text, which are the Salafi, who said if any thing came in the text, we'll choose the text. Those Salafi, Hanbali and other people. Then came Ash'ari, who has chosen a middle road in between. And they gathered together the mental and rational proof and the textual proof.
This was Al-Ash'ari's...
Al-Ash'ari. But their evaluation, even in the history of Islamic thought, that they are not successful in there. They're neither Mu'tazili, rationalists, nor textualists.
So what were they saying? They were saying that some of the time there is free will,
Yes.
and at other times there
Yes.
isn't.
They initiated what is called in Arabic Nazariyat al-Kasb, theory of acquisition, that it is referring to the problem of free will. Is man has free will to do anything he wants, or it is God who initiates his work through man?
So this discussion is between predestination and free will. Free will and predestination.
Yes. Mu'tazila said it is free will. Otherwise, God would not judge men and punish this and award this. The people of the text, Salafiyya, said no. It is out of God's own free will. He punishes this or awards this. This is His own will.
No, but you said that Mu'tazila said that there is, when you say free will in context to Mu'tazila, it's God's will you're talking of,
yes,
not human will. I'm using will as...
Yes, free will, yes. Man has free will. Man is responsible for acts, not God. Otherwise, God will not judge him. The Ash'ari came with a in-between solution. They said, yes, God's created the source of the deed, of the event, and man acquired it. This practice of acquisition is the reason why God judges man. Of course, this is a very weak solution, and came in Arabic common language when referring to something. This is weaker than the acquisition of Al-Ash'ari. That is in general talk, the whole area. Yes.
Well, I think that's all I want. We can go into why philosophy was totally discredited as a science and not taught within the Islamic discipline for the last several hundred years.
Well, it is, of course, every nation has periods of crisis now and then, and you have to find a scapegoat to hide after. So in a certain period, philosophy was taken as a scapegoat. But philosophers were very intelligent. They included philosophy within the books of theology, theological books beginning from the 6th century later on, that is to say after Al-Ghazali period. They put all the mean theories, philosophical theories, within the frame of theological books. There are so many chapters that has nothing to do with theological problems, and that is one way of protecting themselves. But Islamic philosophy is continuous up to now. The problem is that we don't consider the authors as philosophers. In the 7th century, we have Ibn Taymiyyah. He is a philosopher in a way. In the 19th century, that is 7th century means 14th and 15th century. In the 18th century and later on, we have Al-Afghani and Sheikh Muhammad Abdu. And we have in the 20th century Dr. Muhammad al-Bahai, Maududi, Iqbal, and so many personalities. But nobody is following up.
Now, just a little quick comment on what is Islamic mysticism or or Sufism, if there is anything
yes,
like this, because
yes.
I mean, you brought up Al-Ghazali, and I was thinking, yes.
Mysticism, or Sufism as it is said, it is a human heritage. It is not only Islamic, because Christianity has its own mystical system, Judaism, even non-revelation religion has it is a human feature. What is it? To make it very easy, to in materialistic point of view, some men, some people, you cannot they cannot eat just a little piece of food. They need much amount of food to get filled up. Others, just very little pieces of food are enough for them. On the spiritual field, the same. Such a thing happens. People could suffice themselves with the formal prayers of Islam or their own religion. Others cannot. Those official prayers are not enough for them. Their spirits are hungry, and it necessitates more and more. And here is the basic of Sufism. Sufism is a sort of idealification of the spirituality of a human being. And Islam has his own system of Sufism, which depends on, again, the source of Quran and Sunnah. That is it.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
That's all, Mr. Nazir.
All right.